Hey everybody, Tom Barnes, Chicago scene downtown at the Harry Caray's right here on Navy Pier, and happy Toast to Harry Day, the 24th annual Toast to Harry at 5:30 here at the Navy Pier location for Harry Caray's. I'm going to talk to Grant Porter, who is in charge of this whole event. He's been continuing this thing for 24 years to celebrate the famed Chicago broadcaster who did both sides of towns with the White Sox when he got to Chicago, but made his name and made Take Me Out to the Ball Game famous on the north side of Chicago in the 80s and 90s. At least when I grew up, Harry Caray was a living legend. I even have a t-shirt that says Late Night with Harry, with the Harry's Top 10, as he was on the David Letterman show back in the day. I'm going to talk to Grant now, hear about all that's going on for the event tonight, and the big cheers at 5:30 at Harry Caray's Navy Pier. All right, so we're getting ready for the big annual Toast to Harry, and I'm here with Grant Porter and Dutchie Caray. How are you guys? Good morning.
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about the toast that's happening later today. But for folks who, especially a generation of baseball fans that might not know Harry, what's something that you want to know about him and why that you do this?
Well, for those that don't know Harry, I mean, he was the Cubs' legendary broadcaster. He said, "Holy cow," and was known for singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Mm-hmm. But he was a larger-than-life personality, and he was really like a fan in the booth. He would call a game like a fan would call a game, and I think that's why fans love him all over the globe.
Yeah, I loved growing up with him. I was fortunate enough to have him as the Cubs broadcaster in my youth in the 80s, 84, 89. I loved having him and making Take Me Out to the Ball Game like a rite of passage. So much so that I sing it to my kids when they were little to put them to sleep. Dutchie, your husband's legacy is second to none. I mean, he's a legend in Chicago. But what was he like as a husband and living with him and doing all that throughout his career?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was never dull.
I bet not.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun together and good friends. And Grant, he took care of me all the time. I mean, if something went wrong, boy, he was on my side.
Well, that's good. It's always good to have somebody on your side, right?
It is.
What was one of the, if you could remember anything, like was there something that Harry loved more than other things about the Cubs or about baseball that stands out in your mind?
I think it was me.
That's a great answer. I bet you Harry would have said the exact same thing knowing it.
Well, I mean, his favorite moment was when, I mean, it's weird, but the Cubs were losing in 1997, so we offered 45-cent draft beers until they won their first game. And they ended up setting the National League record for the most consecutive losses to start
14?
14.
Yeah, I remember that.
But we offered the 45-cent Budweisers, and Harry thought that was the most fan-friendly thing ever, and he got behind the bar serving 50,000 45-cent beers, and Harry just loved it because, you know, it's like, okay, the Cubs can't win, let's all party and have some fun.
I know, I think back about Harry Caray and growing up, and I really think it was a real golden age of baseball, but really a golden age of baseball in Chicago, especially Wrigley Field, the north side, before the rooftops were crazy, before Wrigleyville was transformed to what it is now, when it was still just a neighborhood where Harry was out in the bleachers, you know, with the bleacher bums, and that became a thing, the Shawno-meter in the 80s and the 90s there. Like, it's just such a perfectly encapsulated time that Harry was here. And I know that we've had this conversation many times, but what do you think Harry would have been like on a day like today, knowing that the Cubs have already won the World Series back in 2016?
Right. Well, so you went back. So when Harry joined the Cubs, I mean, they hadn't won in so long, and all of a sudden they win in '84. WGN goes on the Superstation and broadcasts it to the world.
He becomes world famous.
Really. World famous, and Cub fans become global, and that was a great way to start. And then the World Series. I mean that would have been the epic moment, but it was like we all waited for this for so long, 108 years. Harry, you know, he'd still be partying. He would never have stopped partying from that moment.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember that I was here with you guys the day after they won the World Series, I think. But a Budweiser put together this commercial with your help about the call of the World Series, about the Cubs winning the World Series, using some of his old calls from over the years to you know, kind of put together what it would sound like Harry calling the World Series. And that's still one of my most favorite things in the world, because it was a sad day to think about him not being here for that World Series, but to hear him calling it with the footage of the 2016 Cubs was amazing.
Yeah, those were actually real fans in our bar celebrating that was in there. and they did a great job splicing all of his words. Dutchie, myself, and my wife were in there for the whole time, but it was YouTube out of the year, I heard. Like it was
really?
for creating a giant emotional reaction because everyone felt like Harry was there.
I know, it really did. I mean, I was getting misty-eyed just talking about it now. 5:30 is the Toast to Harry. Why 5:30? Is it just so it's just everybody in Chicago off work and around the world? But that's what you encourage, around the world and in Chicago as well, right?
Right, 5:30 is a good time, like people just getting off work.
Yeah.
It's like they don't have to go home. They can go out to their Harry Caray's or their favorite bar, raise a glass and say, here's to Harry, and maybe sing some "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Absolutely. And Dutchie, is there anything in one of these restaurants that you love more than other besides the giant bust of your husband right behind you there?
I love the dancing pictures of Harry back there.
I saw those. Was that from the another Bud commercial?
Cub fan era, like when they were like "We're Wild About Harry" campaign.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, he was in a tuxedo. One time he's just doing backflips and stuff.
Yep, I remember growing up. I mean, I watched WGN all the time back then. How many locations are there for Harry Caray's? Because it's not, you have it here tonight, but people can celebrate anywhere.
Yeah, well, we have 6 Harry Caray's restaurants. People can celebrate in Lombard or Rosemont at Water Tower, our original one in Kinsey Street. Or even if you're going through Midway Airport, we have a Harry Caray's there.
Yes, you should.
Yes, and then all the Bud and Bud Light sales today is going to Ukrainian Relief. It's for the World Central Kitchen. Harry always loves supporting children in need, and this
because he himself was an orphan, right?
Right. He at one point was sleeping on church benches, so he always spent his whole life trying to help kids.
And any more information on that or anything that you guys offer here is for reservations for this location or others, where should they go?
To harrycarys.com. There's also a link that if someone wants to make a direct donation to the World Central Kitchen, they can do it that way as well.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Grant and Dutchie. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and happy Toast to Harry.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Absolutely.
Here's to Harry.
All right, as Harry would say in the 7th inning stretch at Wrigley Field, let's get some runs. TBARNAS at WGNTV.com. If you have a suggestion for the Chicago scene, that's TBarness at WGNTV.com. This event happens every year. This particular one at Navy Pier yesterday, but all the memorabilia is here today and going forward downtown at this Navy Pier location here, and also at the Kinsey Street and other places around the city. So that's TBarness at WGNTV.com. If you have a suggestion for the Chicago scene, we'll see you guys later. Take care.